In this episode, I would like to focus on the first team only. We would first have a very brief review of the transfer window and then going into the performances of the last two league matches and also looking into the new squad by our new coach Alfred Roeder to see how the new Hoffenheim has been formed under his reign. So firstly, we would like to have a very brief summary of our changes in the squad in the current season. Well, let's look into the in and outs of all our players. For the outs, I think this is very obvious that a lot of our core players last season left our club already, including Joe Linton to Newcastle, Demi Bay and Amiri to Bayer Leverkusen, Nico Schulz to Dortmund, and adding up to the list, there are other 4 players who were regular starter in the last seasons, including Griffo, who just finished the loan in SC Freiburg in the second half of last season, was surprisingly sold to SC Freiburg. This is a very permanent move. In the last stage of the transfer window, club record fee of €7 million for SC Freiburg. I will talk into this case a little bit later. Also surprisingly, Leonardo Bittencourt was loaned out to Werder Bremen, having been unable to get the starting lineup in the first 3 league matches. Our long-time significant centre forward Adam Salai was also sold to Mainz on a free transfer basis, together with the centre-back Kasim Adams, who has been loaned to Dusseldorf for the whole season. Well, not to mention the departure of Antonio Collat, Justin Huma, also loaned out to FC Utrecht, and also David Otto, our up and rising centre forward, who was also loaned out to the FC Hoffenheim, together with our second and third goalkeeper Gregor Kobo to Stuttgart, and the last one is our academy player Robin Hack, loaned to FC Nuremberg. That constitutes a very huge list of departing parties for Hoffenheim, where we could not deny that we lost a lot of important players. But the question is, will it really matter to us, to our ongoing development this season? And don't forget that we also bring in a lot of new signings. Some of them are also young and very promising. So here comes the list. Yadi Samaseko coming from RB Salzburg as a defensive midfield player. And we have 2 so-called centre forward or wingers, Robert Skov from SC Copenhagen and Ilas Bilbao from Hanover. We also have another wingers coming from the second Bundesliga, Sergis Adamyan, the Armenian wingers. Stavridis, the Greece left back, coming from SC Augsburg on a free transfer basis. And there are 2 more new signings. One of them is the reunion of Sebastian Rudy, coming from Schalke. Well, this has been a very long-awaited homecoming for the players. And also, in the last-ditch effort, we acquired another centre forward, Jürgen Locadia from Brighton. So I would have to say that the club actually has prepared the change and brought in a lot of new attacking players. It is obvious that the club would like to build the team zero in with the new coach. With the arrival of the new coach and new players, there should be no prior limitation to what the new coach could devise. The coach could also employ any tactics, any personnel, whatever he thinks is applicable. So I believe that everything was planned and set in early summer, except the departure of Griffo and Bittencourt. Well, this came a bit surprising to me also, to see the news of the departure of both players. You know, they were also in the pre-season training camp and the pre-season friendly matches, and they were prone to be the new core midfield players together with Steven Zuber. In the previous interview with Elvis Roder, he ever mentioned that Griffo is a very violent and aggressive player. He would like him to be the key man in the coming seasons. And for Bittencourt, he would also give him some freedom, some space on the left-hand side. So why did they leave all of a sudden at the end of the transfer window? I think they could be explained in two possible ways. For Bittencourt, that has to be linked up with the chosen personnel in the midfield. Firstly, Elvis Roder would like to employ two defensive midfielder, the so-called defensive midfielder in the matches. He either used Rudy and Grealish or pairing up Rudy with Geiger, who has been more attacking minded in the display. Sometimes he would like to use our new academy players, Baumgartner, to be either on the left-hand side or the central midfield position. So it seems that there are less and less opportunities for Bittencourt to play in the regular starting lineup. Well, this is very pity that we lose him at the end, because he was really useful sometimes on the left-hand side, and also he could bust forward to create some flattering opportunities for our side. And for Griffo, well, he is not a real number 10 player, but could make use of his unique passing abilities, free kick abilities, and also his long-range effort. That could be very useful to us when we met a stalemate with other strong opponents. Well, maybe they envision that their place in Hoffenheim has come to an end. If you look into the first 3 league matches, there's no place for them, even coming from the bench. So it turns out to be a very woeful and a very unhappy situation for them to leave the club, especially for Griffo, who were promised to be the key man, the key players in the new season. And suddenly, well, at the end of the transfer window, he made the request to leave the club and claiming that he was unhappy to stay with Hoffenheim. The club has no choice but has to sell him back to SC Freiburg. Adding up to these woeful situations is that suggests a term in his contract to SC Freiburg, stating that he could not play against Hoffenheim again during the season when the two sides meet up again. Well, that means in the coming Sunday match against SC Freiburg, we could not see Griffo on the pitch. Argue that it is not weird and strange to put a clause like that in the contract. Some other teams would like to practice because of preventing unnecessary embarrassing situation like this time. Players were in harsh conflict with the club and then immediately scores against them on the pitch right after the transfer. The club will feel a little bit humiliating, especially the players knows the club and the players very well. Even our director Alexander Rosen mentioned that this is a one-off and exceptional event. It could be justified that was very unhappy to the decision made by Alves Roda about his future in the club, and then he want to part away with the club all of a sudden. Well, I think somehow the club could be very open-minded not to put like that in the contract, making the outsider believe that Hoffenheim was not managing well with the player, and the coach, the director, was not communicating well with the players. I think it is a lesson learned for the club how to deal with the players, especially when the teams and personnel been foreseen to make the change. Well, eventually it could be a situation like a storm in a teacup, but those storms underlying effect could be very disastrous if the club could not learn from the mistakes. Well, there is another implication to the departure of Griffo, Brittencourt, and Adam Salai. It serves as a magnifier to what Alves Roda is thinking about the team in the new season. The more we observe, the more we could see about Alves Roda. Well, he is not the coach that always advocate and entertaining and attacking football. Well, it is supposed to be when we look into his profile and look into the preventing measures before middle August. In general, he would encourage the team members to make the attack, stigate any threatening movement, but somehow he intends to push the team back to their own defensive area and try to contain the opponents in order to make the swift counter-attacks. So that's why he sometimes deploy quarterback to be the right wingers, put him higher up to the field. That could strike the balance between defense and attack. And also in the match against Leverkusen, he used Geiger as central midfielder, well, used in the number 10 position, and also supported by Woody and Grealish. So in a word, he do not mind using conservative tactics to realize what the teams and the club would want to be when the club is facing a strong opponent, considering that the club has a slightly lower quality in terms of the player ability to make the possession dominant. He also do not mind to put 6 to 7 people in front of its own penalty area to tackles and pressurize the opponents. I think this setting somehow cover up the loop on the right hand side and the speed lacking center backs, especially when the opponents are making a very strong and fast one down the field. Although I always think that we need a stronger candidate in the defensive area, our defensive midfielder were able to contain most of the attack and also make the interception in the opening matches. Even when the opponents were able to make the cross and make the shot, Baumann is the man to stop us from conceding a lot of goals. Once again, he was the man of the match in the match against Leverkusen, making 19 saves. in the match. That was very amazing and marvelous. So the job was done, and could it be justified that Hoffenheim could play both attacking and defensive football? Well, it is somehow risky to defend the opponents. The core issue is if you find the right pivot point. I mean the right center forward, the one who could be qualified as. I really think that Hoffenheim is really possible to switch the tactics to more defensive-minded. If we could find the 2 to 3 good attacking players in the front, sometimes the counter-attack could also be entertaining and impressive. And eventually, it is very important that the counter-attacks could be converted into goals. So the main thing Elvis Roder needs to look into is finding a suitable striker. Definitely, the current starting players are not the ideal ones. Well, it is not a long-term solution to put Ines Bilbao into the starting center forward. Neither Robert Skoff, who looks more threatening on the right wing. Could the new striker Locadia be the man? Well, actually, I really doubt his quality, given his overperformance in the Netherlands and also England. He has the characters, but not always reliable. When he becomes the lone striker. So there we should go back to Belfodil, who could dribble and duck into the goal. You may argue that well, Bilbao score and help us the 3 points, but it is always successful, and could be the magic happen over and over again, and also could he work well with Skoff? Well, my impression is he is very eager to score and make the run, but lacking high technical abilities. As a striker, he may not be able to help us in the long run. That brings me to another issue. Where is Sergis Adamian? He received no injury when you saw him playing in the national team this week for the Armenia. You should ask why Alfred Schroeder didn't put him on the bench. What's wrong with him in Hoffenheim? You could see his recent interview, and well, you could see that he seems to be loved very much playing in Hoffenheim. But why? Why didn't putting him even on the bench? In my opinion, he could be the bench striker, though not playing this role very frequently in the national team. I never doubt that he has the ability to try it. Well, I hope that this will not become another team management crisis. It is really strange that no one talks about his situation in the club. I really hope that the coach and the club could clear all the uncertainties and puzzles about this winger very soon, because not only me talking about his situation, but a lot of Hoffenheim fans are circulating the same questions. Why did Sergis Adamian disappear in the opening matches? Well, in general, Alfred Schroeder used this new combination in the starting lineup. I mean the new midfield and center forward combinations. I think there's no turning back, and a new system has been established. Well, I'm quite prudently optimistic about the chemistry of the new center forward and midfielder. And I also foresee that more opportunity will come from the flanks rather than making through balls and diagonal balls from the central midfield areas. Well, from the back line, Porsche has been the new starting centre backs. The least affecting session has its weakness too. Well, when they against a stronger opponent, could the two defensive midfielders shield the slow-paced center back every match? It remains a very tough challenge. The new squad provides exquisite elements to Hoffenheim starting from July. Especially some players are proving themselves or showing that why our scouting team picked them during the summer. Well, it does look fresh, but really not a very complete and also highly competitive teams that should what Alfred Roder work into in the coming weeks. Well, when I say trying defensive tactics, it doesn't mean that I have to throw away the long embraced attacking philosophy. No, instead, it is about tactical flexibility. If you look at Nagelsmann, he has been not always sticking to either defensive or passive or attacking mindset. You could see what he is currently working in RB Leipzig. He is doing the same thing. Well, player attitudes and disciplines are important, but the match results and team displays are far more important to us. Keep ourselves open-minded, and not letting ourselves sticking on the tactical loophole. The lucky 4 points may not be a very satisfactory result, but could be laying an inspiring groundwork to the team this season. Well, going into the matches ahead, hard-fought matches are waiting for us. Next, we have to face Freiburg, well, which tests our attacking ability. Wolfsburg, Mönchengladbach, and Bayern Munich. I foresee a more flexible and compromised tactics in light of the level of opponents we are going to face against strengthened Wolfsburg and very competitive Mönchengladbach, and not to mention Bayern Munich. Well, I always think that our team could have something special against the Munich. Well, to be realistic, I think we need to pick up as many points as possible. And let's see if there will be some surprises and some miracles going ahead in September and early October.